Good morning. I think this is going to be one of those videos that I regret posting because, just woken up, no makeup, which ties out the redness in my skin, which we can now see. I felt I'm sitting in a very bizarre space at the moment in my life. I'm not feeling scared about this coronavirus, and whilst I felt some anxiety about my business surviving and about what I was going to do and what that meant over the weekend and a little bit into the beginning of this week, it was very superficial fear. It wasn't very deeply based. I have, and I'm realizing how blessed I am, a very, very strong faith in the things that I believe in. And one of the things that I believe in, or several of the things that I believe in, is that when we come from love, we are always going to be okay. That doesn't mean that we're not going to suffer trials and tribulations. We will. It doesn't mean that our world isn't going to be shaken up and rocked. It will be. But when we come from love, everything will be okay. It is as simple as that. Sorry. And I firmly believe that. I also believe everything happens for a reason, and I hate that. I know when I miscarried and everyone said everything happens for a reason, this wasn't meant to be. I remember thinking, fuck, I don't care that everything comes for a reason. And when we're sitting in deep pain and in fear, it's very hard to hear that everything happens for a reason, and that reason is ultimately positive. Really hard. But everything does happen for a reason. There's got to be purpose underlying everything. I do believe that there is a reason for everything. And I believe that strongly believe that one of the reasons that we have been suffering so much with drought, with fires, with floods, beyond the machinations of the physical world, which are, they're legitimate, but beyond that level of superficial, things are happening this way, in my opinion, because we need to reconnect with ourselves, with what we truly want out of our lives, what we believe life is about, and the purpose of life. And so that we can truly connect with other people. And I don't mean every Tom, Dick, and Harry. I just mean coming back to a place where we're spending time in our lives doing the things that really bring us fulfillment and peace, where we are of service to other people, where we are building and lending ourselves to this world rather than taking and destroying, which is what our society has become about. We are so busy coming from places of greed. I need more, I need more, I need more, I need to consume, I need to be this, I need to be that we have forgotten that when we come from our heart space, when we come from love, everything is smoother, everything is more peaceful. Look, I've been reading a lot of stuff about how people are feeling very scared. I get that, and I understand. We're dealing with something that we, in our lifetimes, the majority of us, have never had to deal with. We're dealing with food shortages. We're dealing with the essential items not being available on shelves. We're dealing with being isolated in our homes. And trust me, as someone who lives alone, that can be quite daunting. I know of one person whom I love dearly who is alone and feeling and cut off because they're elderly. They're in a very high risk group for being susceptible to corona. So he's living alone and he is struggling emotionally, and his family can't get to him beyond the online world, beyond phone calls, and that can be very debilitating for people living alone. I'm lucky I'm surrounded by 3 blessed animals who drive me fucking nuts, but they're here, so I'm not as alone. And I obviously talk to myself all of the time, and which brings me to my next point. I have a solid practice. I have rituals that are in place in my life. So I've shared, embarrassingly, some of those with you in the last week or two. And I think working out what works for you. So those things work for me. I'm obviously, peace, love, and mung beans type person. But those things work for me. Chanting, drumming, sound, meditation, reading, got to read on the weekend. Amazing. Those things really do help me. Like, I've switched off the TV a little bit more, which I was doing when I first got back from travel last year and then got back into it. Yeah. Find out what works for you and then do it. Like, we've all got strategies at hand. If you need a hand working out what your strategy is, give me a call. I'm happy to talk you through stuff, or text you through stuff, probably more. I'm not overly a fan of talking on the phone, unless, anyway, moving on. Feel free to text me, send me a message and say, hey Tina, I'm not sure, I like doing this, this is what brings me happiness. And I'll just say to you, good, I give you permission to do more of that, because that's what it's about. Do more of what brings you peace and love. If it's shopping, think about why. Shopping, it fills holes that don't need to exist. When we're consuming, that's saying that there is something not in balance within us. When we're over consuming anything, unless it's good for your soul. Yeah. Anyway, I'm overthinking. I'm sure, Cora. Come from love. When you feel a moment of fear, step outside, because we're still allowed to do that. Put your feet on the grass, look up at the sky, close your eyes, and take deep breaths. Just take deep breaths to start with. Feel the breeze on your skin or the sun's warmth on your face. Just be present in that moment. Because our lives are just a series of moments, and we choose in every single moment who we're going to be and how we're going to feel. I'm not saying don't acknowledge your fear. Acknowledge your fear. It's important to acknowledge the emotion. It is equally important to not attach to it. When we attach to it, we become controlled by it. Come from love. Breathe. If you can do nothing else, breathe. Anyway, I love everybody, and I hope that you all have a good day. And I hope that I don't feel like crap later for posting looking like this, because ultimately I'm as superficial as everybody else. Namaste.